Every person carries pain, though most try to hide it behind a smile, behind laughter, behind silence. We pretend it doesn't exist. That time alone will erase it. But pain doesn't vanish just because you ignore it. It waits. It buries itself deep within your mind, and the more you run from it, the more power it gains over you. Pain that is not faced becomes the invisible hand that shapes your thoughts, your actions, your fears, your choices. You think you're free, but you're not. You are being controlled by what you refuse to confront. Every wound you bury whispers in the dark. Every heartbreak you suppress becomes a shadow that follows you. You can change cities, change people, change your entire life, but the pain you avoid travels with you. It hides inside your habits, inside your reactions, inside the moments you feel anger or emptiness without understanding why. You cannot escape it by distraction, pleasure, or denial. You can only transform it by facing it. Pain is not your enemy, it is your mirror. It shows you where you are wounded, where you still need to heal, where you have betrayed yourself. It is life's way of asking you to stop running and start listening. You suffer not because pain exists, but because you resist it. The more you resist, the more it grows. Like a fire trapped under the surface, it burns stronger until it consumes everything. The moment you turn toward it, the fire begins to calm, because pain only wants to be seen. Facing pain does not mean drowning in it. It means allowing yourself to feel what you've been avoiding. It means sitting with discomfort instead of numbing it with noise. It means asking the hard questions. What is this pain trying to teach me? What truth am I avoiding? What part of myself have I been too afraid to face? The answers are never easy, but they are always freeing. Most people fear pain because they mistake it for weakness. They believe that strong people don't break, don't cry, don't feel lost. But real strength is not the absence of pain, it's the willingness to walk through it. Courage is not smiling when everything hurts. Courage is saying, yes, I am hurting, but I will not run from it anymore. Every scar you have is proof that pain tried to destroy you and failed. The reason pain controls so many lives is because people refuse to face its truth. They hide behind temporary escapes, scrolling, drinking, overworking, pretending. But pain buried alive becomes anger, anxiety, bitterness, self-hate. It seeps into every relationship, every decision. You think you're protecting yourself from suffering, but what you're really doing is letting suffering define you in silence. Until you face it, you will keep repeating the same lessons in different forms. The same pain will return in new faces, new places, new moments, until you finally stop and listen. When you face pain, you reclaim your power. You stop being the victim of your past and become the student of your experience. You start to see that pain was never there to punish you, it was there to wake you up, to remind you of who you are beneath the noise. To strip away illusions, false attachments, and everything that is not real. Pain is the gateway to truth. It humbles you, refines you, teaches you compassion. It burns away ego until all that remains is your raw, unfiltered self. There is a moment in every person's life when the weight of suppressed pain becomes unbearable. You can feel it in your body, in your exhaustion, in your lack of joy. That is not weakness, it is your soul asking you to stop pretending, to stop running, to face what you've been carrying. When you finally sit with that pain, it will hurt. It will feel like falling apart, but that breaking is necessary, because what is breaking is not you, it is your resistance. Healing begins the moment you stop fighting your pain. When you breathe through it, observe it, and allow it to speak, you begin to see that the pain itself holds the key to your freedom. It shows you where you lost your voice, where you stopped trusting, where you stopped loving yourself. Every emotion you suppressed becomes energy trapped in your body. When you face it, that energy is released. The tears, the trembling, the silence, all of it is your body remembering how to let go. To face pain is to reclaim your story. It means no longer letting the past dictate who you are. It means saying, yes, this happened, yes, it hurt, but it does not define me anymore. That is when healing truly begins. The past can't change, but your relationship to it can. The moment you choose to face it, the pain loses its power. You stop being controlled by the memory and start writing a new one. There is no freedom in avoidance. the only way out is through. You cannot numb your way to peace. You must feel your way to it. Feel every ache, every regret, every wound you try to forget, because the pain you face transforms into wisdom. The pain you understand becomes strength. The pain you accept becomes peace. You were not meant to live your life avoiding pain. You were meant to rise from it. To learn, to evolve, to become someone who can walk through fire and still carry light in their heart. Pain is not the end of your story. It is the teacher that reveals your beginning. When you face it, you stop being a prisoner of your past and start becoming the author of your future. The power was always within you. Pain just reminds you where to find it. Pain is a messenger, not an enemy. Most people spend their entire lives trying to escape it, bury it, or silence it. They think that if they can just push it far enough away, life will finally become peaceful. But what if pain isn't something meant to be escaped from? What if pain is the language through which life speaks to us? What if the very thing you've been running from is the key to the peace you've been searching for? When pain arrives, it doesn't come empty-handed. It carries truth. It carries awareness. It carries lessons that comfort could never teach. Pain is life's way of drawing your attention to something that demands healing, growth, or change. When you touch a hot surface, the pain doesn't appear to punish you. It warns you to pull your hand away before you get burned. In the same way, emotional pain is not there to destroy you. It's there to make you aware of what is harming you from the inside. Every ache of the heart, every moment of loss, every feeling of rejection is a signal. It's the body and the soul working together to communicate that something within needs your attention. People often misunderstand pain because they believe it represents weakness. They've been taught to associate suffering with failure. So they suppress it, pretending everything is fine, wearing smiles that don't match what's happening inside. But the truth is, denying pain only gives it more power. What you resist will persist. Pain that is ignored turns into bitterness, resentment, and fear. It begins to control your choices without you even realizing it. You avoid love because love once hurt. You avoid dreams because failure once burned. You avoid truth because truth once shattered your illusion. And so, you live a smaller version of yourself, all because you misunderstood the purpose of your pain. When you start seeing pain as a messenger, everything changes. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start asking, "What is this trying to show me?" That single shift transforms pain from a prison into a teacher. It's not there to make you suffer endlessly. It's there to make you conscious. When you are conscious, you begin to heal. Awareness brings clarity, and clarity dissolves confusion. Think of every scar you carry. Each one tells a story of survival, of growth, of awakening. Pain refines the soul, the same way fire refines metal. It burns away what is false, and leaves behind what is pure. Every time life has brought you to your knees, something within you was being transformed. The pain was removing illusions, breaking attachments, and preparing you to stand stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than before. But to receive the message that pain carries, you must have the courage to face it directly. You must allow yourself to feel without judgment, without labeling it as good or bad. Just to sit in silence and observe what the pain is trying to communicate. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it screams, but it always speaks truth. Maybe it's telling you that you've been holding on to something that no longer serves you. Maybe it's showing you that the path you're walking is not aligned with who you truly are. Maybe it's reminding you that you deserve better, but you've settled for less. The more you listen, the clearer the message becomes. Pain teaches patience, it teaches humility, it teaches empathy. It softens the heart and deepens the mind. The person who has walked through pain and learned from it develops a kind of strength that cannot be faked, a quiet power that doesn't need to prove itself. Because pain strips away the surface and brings you face to face with your essence. In many ways, pain is the mirror of the soul. It reflects the parts of you that are still unhealed. It shows you where fear lives, where anger hides, where love has been blocked. Without pain, there would be no motivation to grow, no reason to change, no path to awakening. If life were only ease and comfort, we would never evolve. Pain brings movement. It pushes us to seek deeper understanding, to question, to explore, to rise beyond the limits we once accepted. There is a strange beauty in pain when you stop fighting it. You start to see how it connects everything. It makes joy more meaningful because you know what sorrow feels like. It makes success more fulfilling because you've known the sting of failure. It makes love more sacred because you've felt the emptiness of loss. Pain gives contrast to existence. It reminds you that you are alive. When you treat pain as a messenger, you begin to trust life again. You understand that every hardship carries hidden wisdom. You stop seeing challenges as punishment and start recognizing them as preparation. The universe is not against you. It's training you, shaping you, refining you for something greater. But the message can only be heard by those who are willing to listen without fear. Listening to pain doesn't mean dwelling in it forever. It means learning from it, honoring its purpose, and then letting it go. Pain visits you to deliver its message, and once you understand, it doesn't need to stay. Healing begins the moment you stop asking for the pain to disappear and start asking for the lesson it came to teach. If you close your heart to pain, you close your heart to growth. If you numb yourself to feeling, you numb yourself to life itself. So instead of seeing pain as an intruder, welcome it as a guide. Let it speak, let it reveal, let it transform. Because within every ache lies a truth that has the power to set you free from illusions. Pain is not your enemy. It is the silent language through which life reminds you to wake up, to evolve, to return to your true self. Avoidance strengthens suffering. It's a truth most people discover only after years of running from what hurts. In the beginning, avoidance feels like relief. You tell yourself that by staying busy, by keeping your mind distracted, by pretending everything is fine, you can escape the discomfort that lives inside you. You convince yourself that if you ignore it long enough, it will fade away. But pain doesn't vanish when you turn your back on it. It hides, it waits. And with every moment you refuse to face it, it grows stronger, quieter, and deeper, until one day, it controls you completely. Avoidance begins as self-protection. A child learns it early to hold back tears, to suppress anger, to stay silent, to keep peace. The mind builds walls to shield itself from rejection, fear, and loss. Those walls feel safe, but they are made of suffering. Every emotion that is buried alive remains alive. The more you avoid your feelings, the more power they gain in the dark. Anxiety grows in the silence you create. Sadness multiplies behind the smile you force. The more you deny what you feel, the further you drift from who you really are. Avoidance may keep you comfortable for a while, but comfort built on denial is fragile. It cracks the moment life demands honesty. Suffering is not born from pain itself, but from resistance to pain. When you fight against what is, you double your burden: first the pain of what happened, and then the pain of refusing to accept it. Imagine standing in the rain while trying to stay dry. You tense your body, you hide under small covers, you fight the drops as they fall, but the more you resist, the wetter you become. Eventually, exhaustion sets in. You realize that the rain was never the real problem, your refusal to feel it was. The same truth applies to emotional pain. You suffer more from trying to escape it than from the pain itself. Avoidance promises control, but it delivers bondage. When you run from fear, fear runs your life. When you avoid grief, grief becomes the shadow behind every smile. When you suppress anger, it seeps out in unexpected ways through impatience, resentment, or bitterness. The emotions you refuse to face never disappear. They disguise themselves and reappear as habits, reactions, and behaviors that keep you trapped. People drink to forget, work to escape, scroll endlessly to numb, all in an effort to outrun what is already within them. But no matter how fast you run, pain is patient. It will wait for you at the next quiet moment, when the noise fades and there's nowhere left to hide. Avoidance is not peace, it is paralysis. It keeps you stuck between who you were and who you could become. The energy required to suppress emotions drains you more than the emotion itself. You can spend a lifetime holding a beach ball underwater, but eventually your strength gives out, and it bursts to the surface with more force than before. That's what happens when you keep pushing away what you don't want to feel. The breakdowns, the sudden bursts of anger, the unexplained sadness, they are not random. They are the consequences of long-term avoidance. finally demanding to be seen. Facing pain is uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. Avoidance, on the other hand, creates a false comfort that decays over time. You might think you're avoiding heartbreak by never letting anyone close, but in truth, you're building a life around loneliness. You might think you're avoiding failure by never trying, but you're really imprisoning yourself in regret. Avoidance feels like protection, but it's actually self-sabotage disguised as safety. It convinces you that you're escaping suffering when you're only extending it. There's a reason why healing begins with honesty. The moment you admit that something hurts, you reclaim your power from it. Pain loses its grip when it is brought into awareness. But avoidance keeps pain unspoken, and what is unspoken becomes toxic. It festers in the dark corners of your mind, shaping your thoughts, decisions, and identity without your permission. You start to live reactively, not from choice, but from fear. Fear of remembering, fear of feeling, fear of being hurt again. This fear controls your actions more than any external force ever could. Avoidance also blinds you to the lessons hidden in discomfort. Pain carries wisdom. It reveals your boundaries, your needs, your values. When you avoid it, you lose the chance to grow. Life keeps repeating the same patterns until you finally face what you've been running from. The relationship that keeps falling apart, the same type of disappointment, the same inner emptiness, these are not coincidences. They are reflections of unresolved pain replaying itself, urging you to look closer. Avoidance ensures you stay in the same cycle, suffering from the same wounds dressed in different forms. The irony is that the more you avoid suffering, the more fragile you become. You start fearing anything that might trigger discomfort, conflict, change, vulnerability. You become a prisoner of predictability, always seeking safety, but never finding peace. True peace isn't found by avoiding storms, it's found by learning how to walk through them. Avoidance builds a wall, but facing pain builds resilience. You don't become stronger by escaping the dark, you become stronger by learning to stand in it without losing your light. Every act of avoidance is an act of postponing your own freedom. Every time you turn away from what hurts, you delay the moment you could start healing. Pain doesn't vanish with time, it transforms only through attention. The more you delay it, the deeper it embeds itself. Avoidance keeps you in survival mode, always running, always hiding, never resting. It steals your present because you're still haunted by what you refuse to confront from the past. To face pain doesn't mean to drown in it. It means to see it clearly, to understand it, to allow it to move through you instead of letting it live within you. Avoidance stops that flow. It freezes pain into permanence. What could have been a passing storm becomes a permanent winter because you refuse to step into the rain. Life is not asking you to be fearless, it's asking you to be honest. Because only in honesty can suffering begin to dissolve, and only through facing what you fear can you ever know what it means to be free. Awareness is the first step to healing. Before change can happen, before wounds can close, before peace can return, there must be awareness. Without it, a person can live their entire life in pain without ever understanding where that pain comes from. Awareness is the light that reveals what has been hidden in the shadows of the mind. It is not about fixing, judging, or blaming, it is about seeing. Seeing clearly, seeing honestly, seeing without running away. Healing begins the moment you stop denying what is real and start noticing what has always been there beneath the surface. Most people live disconnected from their inner world. They feel restless, anxious, or sad, but they don't know why. They search for external reasons: work, relationships, money, believing that if they could just change their surroundings, the inner chaos would disappear. But the truth is, no change in the outer world can heal what is unresolved inside. Awareness is the bridge between suffering and transformation. Until you become aware of the thoughts you think, the emotions you suppress, and the patterns you repeat, you remain trapped in cycles of pain that you can't see. What you don't see, you can't change. Awareness requires courage because it asks you to look within. It demands stillness in a world that encourages distraction. It asks you to sit with discomfort, to feel what you've been avoiding, to acknowledge what you've pretended not to feel. Many people run from awareness because it exposes the truth. It reveals the ways you've lied to yourself, the masks you wear, the stories you repeat. But the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, is the foundation of all healing. Awareness doesn't hurt you, it shows you what's already been hurting you. It simply lifts the veil. When awareness enters, clarity follows. You start to see the connection between your past and your present. You begin to understand why certain situations trigger you, why certain patterns keep returning, why some emotions feel unbearable. You recognize that many of your reactions are not to the present moment, but to old wounds that were never healed. This realization changes everything. Instead of blaming the world for your pain, you begin to take responsibility for your inner state. That responsibility is not guilt, it is empowerment. It means you are no longer a victim of unconscious pain, you are becoming conscious of it, and consciousness is liberation. Awareness also means learning to observe without judgment. Healing doesn't begin by labeling feelings as good or bad. It begins by allowing them to exist, to be aware of sadness without rejecting it, to be aware of fear without being consumed by it, to be aware of anger without letting it define you. The mind tends to resist what it cannot accept, but resistance only strengthens suffering. Awareness dissolves resistance because it doesn't fight, it witnesses. When you simply observe your emotions, they begin to soften. The act of observation itself creates space, and in that space, transformation begins naturally. There is a profound difference between thinking about pain and being aware of it. Thinking keeps you in the mind, it analyzes, compares, explains. Awareness goes deeper, it feels, it listens, it senses without trying to control. Thinking tries to escape pain, awareness embraces it. The moment you bring awareness to your suffering, it starts to lose its grip. The darkness of the unconscious cannot survive in the presence of light. The things that once controlled you begin to weaken because they thrive only in ignorance. Awareness also reveals how much of our pain is created by our own resistance to reality. We suffer not only from what happens, but from the stories we tell about what happens. Awareness helps you see those stories. It allows you to recognize the voice in your head that says you're not enough, that you'll never heal, that you're broken. When you observe that voice without identifying with it, its power fades. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness that observes them. This realization is the beginning of freedom. To be aware is to wake up. Most people move through life half asleep, repeating emotional patterns inherited from their past, reacting automatically to situations without understanding why. Awareness interrupts that sleep. It brings you back to the present moment, where healing can actually occur. The present is the only place where transformation is possible, because it is the only place where life truly exists. The past is memory, the future is imagination. Awareness anchors you in the now, where pain can be felt, understood, and released. Awareness doesn't mean you will never feel pain again. It means you will no longer be controlled by it. When you are aware, pain becomes a signal, not a sentence. It tells you where healing is needed, where energy is blocked, where love has been withheld. It becomes information, not punishment. Without awareness, pain feels like chaos. With awareness, it becomes guidance. You begin to see pain as part of a larger process of awakening rather than an obstacle to peace. Developing awareness is not a single moment of realization, it is a continuous practice. It grows each time you pause before reacting, each time you breathe through discomfort, each time you observe your thoughts instead of drowning in them. With every moment of awareness, the distance between you and your pain increases. You are no longer the emotion itself, you are the witness of it. That witnessing changes your relationship with everything. Life no longer feels like something happening to you, but something unfolding through you. Awareness does not demand perfection, it asks for honesty. It doesn't require that you instantly fix your life, it invites you to truly see it. The act of seeing begins to shift energy on its own. The more you observe, the more patterns reveal themselves. You start to notice how certain thoughts trigger anxiety, how certain habits arise from fear, how certain relationships mirror your inner state. Awareness shows you the map of your inner world, and with that map, you can finally navigate with wisdom instead of confusion. Healing is not something that happens overnight. It's not a sudden disappearance of pain, but a gradual unveiling of truth. Awareness is the first light that enters that darkness. It is gentle but powerful. It doesn't force change, it invites it. When you become aware, you begin to understand that you were never broken, you were simply unconscious of your own depth. The awareness that sees the wound is the same awareness that begins to heal it, and from that moment onward, every breath, every silence, every observation becomes part of the journey back to wholeness. Growth is hidden within struggle. The moments that test you the most are the moments that shape you the deepest. It is easy to see beauty in success, peace in comfort, and joy in ease, but true transformation is born in difficulty. Struggle is the soil where strength takes root. It is in the seasons of confusion, loss, and pain that the human spirit learns what it is truly capable of. Without struggle, growth remains shallow, and without challenge, potential remains asleep. Every hardship carries within it an invitation to evolve, but only those willing to endure discomfort can uncover what lies beyond it. Struggle is the language of life calling you to expand beyond your limits. When everything is simple, the mind stays at rest, and the heart remains untested. You may feel content, but contentment without growth becomes stagnation. Struggle disturbs that stillness. It shakes the walls of comfort and exposes the places where fear still lives. It forces you to confront weakness, dependency, and illusion. At first, it feels like punishment, but with awareness, it reveals itself as training. Life uses struggle to strengthen the parts of you that ease could never reach. Every great transformation begins in chaos. Before a seed becomes a tree, it must break open, in the darkness of the soil. Before a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it must dissolve completely inside its cocoon. The same law applies to human growth. You cannot evolve without first being broken open by experience. The pain you resist is often the very pressure needed to release the strength within you. What feels like the end of something is often the beginning of something higher. The storm that frightens you is the same storm that clears away everything that no longer serves you. Struggle teaches you to let go of control,